Hey, what's up, good people? It's your boy Zeke Nyanga, your host for the FiredUp show. We're here for another episode. This one is gonna be both informational and energetic. Cause man, I'm telling you, this luck unloaded. Cause I got two awesome leaders from Kansas City. I can't wait to bring them on. First of all, I want to bring my mentor, my main man, Mr. Jermaine Reed. He served on the council. He's a councilman for 8 years. Right now, he is a managing partner for KGR Consultants. He's also on the board of trustees for MCC. So, make welcome Mr. Jermaine Reed to the FiredUp show. Welcome, 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 welcome.
Hey, everybody.
Now, bringing on most energetic, Mr. Fadam. I need to know how to pronounce this. I'm just going to let him come in and pronounce it himself. But he is the most energetic, more fired up than I am. I'm fired up. He is Paul J. Long. He also hosts his own podcast. Man, if you're on LinkedIn, you know that name. He is all wild. Make welcome, Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul.
What is good, Zeke? Jermaine. Hey. I'm fired up. Fired up.
Well, in my political days, we'll say "and ready to go."
Okay.
Let's go, man. I'm excited this morning to have two awesome leaders with me. I'm honored to have you guys. Thank you guys for bringing out this time to come on here to talk with me. But without further ado, Mr. Jermaine, can you just give us a brief fire about yourself? Let people know who we have here today.
Well, you covered a lot of my professional background, where the past 8 years I served on the city council, was elected as the youngest city council member in city history at 25 years old. And while on the council, I championed a number of projects from large and small. So projects that you may be aware of, from the building of the new terminal project at KCI Airport, where we're building currently as it's taking place. I was one of the chairs of the selection committee, and so went through a very daunting task. If you're from Kansas City, you definitely are aware of the long process that took. But from also just bricks and mortar projects within the heart of the urban core, where I championed the building of a number of grocery stores that have been built in what we consider a food desert, where so many people unfortunately don't have access to fresh food and vegetables and groceries. And it was one of the passions of mine to really just give back and ensure that individuals within our community had access to grocery stores. Outside of that, I worked in a number of other sectors and trying to just really build up our community, where I represented over 80,000 citizens in the heart of Kansas City, in the 3rd District, which spans over to the Royals Stadium, which is, of course, Kaufman, and then Arrowhead, and additionally just parts of really what I consider the heartbeat of Kansas City, within the 18th and Vine area, and so much more. And so during that time, it really has allowed me to, I also was a candidate for mayor, where I unsuccessfully ran in a long list of individuals, but I'm so glad that Mayor Lucas is having to deal with the crisis at hand, and I can sit here and have a great conversation with you and others. But that's part of what I've done. And then I would say probably over the past year since I left the council, I've started my own consulting company, where I am working on the front lines with a number of companies across the country, large and small, who provide city solutions to communities, whether it's wastewater, energy, technology, transportation options, or whatever it may be. I'm helping them navigate that space in a number of cities across the country. But outside of that, glad to be here with you and look forward to sharing whatever little bit that I can from playing off Paul's energy and his trophies that he has on his mantle. I don't have much like that, but look forward to the conversation.
Man, yeah, I mean, I just want to say it's an honor to have you on the show. Man, you are a powerhouse in Kansas City, so it's a privilege for me, being a young person, to have you on my show. So we are honored to have you. Mr. Paul, the fund. Let me get this out. Fundamism, right? Fundamism. Fundamism. There we go.
Hey, Zeke, I'll make it easy on you. Here's how the word was created, all right? So they're fundamentals, right, of a fun and optimistic lifestyle. So I just threw those 3 words, fundamentals, fun, and optimistic together. Bam! Fundamism.
Bam. Man, so Paul, just give us a little bit bio about yourself. Let people know who have you here today. I'm already fired up.
Hey, first of all, so this is my first time, my first opportunity at meeting the Honorable Jermaine. And so first of all, I just want to say, just because I got my trophies out, it don't mean that you can't light a candle. It sounds like you got all the same trophies, if not more. You're just far more humble than me.
We'll save that for later to conversation. I mean, I have sat in the Buck O'Neil legacy seat.
I know, right? But you also,
I did go to the World Series. In the Super Bowl, you got a ball back there too. But
and Zeke, for your listeners,
that's my humble brag.
Hey, Zeke, for the listeners, they didn't hear this because it was off air, but Jermaine threatened to body slam me, so I had to get back up. I got my guy Ric Flair. That's right. Oh, man. All right.
What's off air stays off air. Paul, get to your introduction, bro.
Sorry about that. Hey, so in short, first of all, I feel like I'm in very, very good company. Zeke, I had the opportunity to meet you on another podcast, Drinks with Leaders, that live LinkedIn show. I was enamored by your desire for growth, your desire to learn more about society and equality and finding ways to close opportunity gaps and help others do the same. So I'm honored to be here, my friend. A little bit about me. I am a master of shenanigans. I don't take myself too seriously. I'm an author. I'm a podcaster. I got a workbook. I'm a keynote speaker. Pre-COVID, I traveled the globe delivering 45-minute to hour and a half long keynotes, helping individuals connect the workplace and life through fun. Mm-hmm. So Fundamism, as stated before, stands for the fundamentals of a fun and optimistic lifestyle. So Zeke, what's one thing that you do for fun, my friend?
I eat a lot.
Zeke, that's a fundamental, man. Like finding something that gives you strength and doing more of that than the stuff that tears you down can help mitigate the sting of challenge in life. I recently had somebody reach out to me on Facebook, and it was the auntie of this gentleman I had the opportunity to meet. And she said, will you reach out to this gentleman and check in on him? He's been in a very dark place. And so I reached out to him and I said, what's good? I saw a picture of your auntie. I just want to let you know it reminded me of you. I hope things are well. And so we had a little conversation, and he said, to be honest, things are really challenging lately. But he said, what's been powering me through it is, he said, somebody once told me, he said, if you're in hell, if it looks like hell, if it feels like hell, why would you stay there? You got to find a way to get out. Yeah. And so for me, that's fundamism. That's gravitating more towards what lifts you up as opposed to what doesn't.
Dang, that's some power quote right there. If you're in hell, it feels like you better get out. Get out. Man, it's an honor to have you because, man, I've been a fan of you on LinkedIn. I always see you. You always get me with, what's good? I'm like, I'm good already. I can't wait. So your energy like literally motivates me. Whenever I see, I'm like, okay, this is about to be fire. So I always give it a fire emoji because I'm like, it's about to be some heat. But it's an honor to have you, Mr. Paul. I am really humbled to have you on my show today. And again, each time I get on my show, I'm always like, Mama, I made it, because I'm meeting some awesome leaders here today. So hey, Mama, wherever you are, you're gonna be proud of me today. So, but without much being said, I just want to ask, so Mr. Jermaine, because with your bio and everything you've been doing so far, you are so passionate about the city. Now, I want to ask you this: what is the why behind you being so passionate and making change in the community?
It's fairly simple. From a very young age, I was really intrigued in just the political process and also wanting to be at the table of decision making. And the why is simple, where basically I realized that if you're not at the table, you might be on the menu. And I wanted to be at the table and not folks picking over me on the menu. And I could help set the menu to make a larger difference in the lives of people every single day. And and like I said, my mentors who were real leaders here in the community, who served on the city council, served in a number of different advocacy spaces, really helped me propel into the space that I was able to run for office at 25 years old, and now also serving on another community college board, because at the end of the day, I'm going to say this since we're on Zoom and this is a friendly conversation, so excuse my language, but you gotta have people at the table who give a damn about what's going on, and with what's happening in our city, our communities, our state, and states around this country, and just even at the federal level, people have to care about what's happening, and care enough that it actually makes a positive impact and not a negative impact on people's lives. And in some capacity, I feel like I was able to do that while serving on the city council. I'm able to do that now while serving in an elected position on the board of trustees for the Metropolitan Community College here in Kansas City, which oversees 5 campuses and have over 26,000 students who are enrolled, because I give a damn, right? And I want to make a positive change and impact. And so I would use that as the why.
Wow, that's powerful. Before I say anything else, I just want to say that your background, that's some high class stuff going on in your background right there. You are like, your background is like just super, like you are a classic man right there. Man,
Too kind. Don't get Paul going. He's ready. He's probably raring to go already. Bam!
Hey, but this is a thing too, because
Let's go.
Most people know Mr. Jermaine as being this professional person, but he has a really, really funny side of him that people do not know. He has like this, really funny and energetic side of him, which I love.
Hey, I'll tell you this because I know that folks will have an opportunity to watch this. And so if you went to college with me, all of my friends called me the Pump It Up Man.
Yeah.
And why? And that is because anytime I walked into a party, the party was just starting because I was a good time. You wanted me to be there. But professionally, let me get back to my professional tone, is that in my professional life, I realized life is just that. You have to make a good time, and you have to make fun, even when it's something that seems bad. If it's a divorce, or if it's a breakup, whatever it may be, there is something good at every juncture in your life. I heard one time that anything in life is possible besides death, because when you die, you don't have an opportunity to keep trying to do something. Yeah. And so I try to always emulate that, pump it up in whatever levels of my life that I possibly can, because you should be able to make a difference and do something.
Man, I wanted to say something, but I don't think I want to say any other thing. I just want to give it to Paul, because I feel like that's just a really good transition.
Oh, he's ready. Paul's ready.
Yeah, he's just.
We got Jermaine is on opposite sides of the double Dutch, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get it out. Hey, so Zeke, the question was, what's your why?
Yeah.
So first of all, a wise man, somebody that I haven't had the opportunity to meet much, but I'm starting to look up to a great deal, once said that if you ain't at the table, then maybe you're on the menu. So with that,
you're not going to take me out like that. You're not going to
let
take me
the
out
big
like
dogs
that.
eat. Let's So you asked about my bio earlier, Zeke, and it's so funny whenever folks ask about a bio, or whenever, for me personally, whenever I go out and I do a keynote, and I'm blessed with the opportunity to see many, many, many speakers, and the clients always ask, what's your bio? What do you want your stage introduction to be? And man, I mean, you got bios that are this long. I got a master's in whatever, and I've been speaking internationally for 30 years, and whatever it may be. I find that really for me, all that bio does for me is it fills a void in my ego. Like people don't really give a damn about me until they understand what I'm about, until they understand that I'm about them. And at which point, when they realize that I give a damn, Jermaine, about them, then all of a sudden people are a little more vulnerable, a little more open to listening, a little more willing to see how they could potentially grow or what they could do to promote well-being in society. So my why really goes back to a very similar path that Jermaine talked about in terms of, there's folks in this world that come into the room and they brighten it up a little bit, like the Pump It Up guy, right? And there's folks that when they leave the room brightens up a little bit. And so I've always been that guy that's like Jermaine, like I've always been, energetic. I've always been extroverted, but I can honestly say that it wasn't always focused, right?
Yeah.
And so I got the opportunity to be a director of call center operations for a Fortune 300 company, had everything that society told me would make me happy, was making all the money, had the seat at the table. Like I was looking around, I'm like, how did I get here? But I was there. And then we got to making the decisions, right? And I realized that in an organization that big, they hired me to kind of help shift the culture. And while I was doing that, to a very small extent, it wasn't moving as fast as I thought, A, that I had the potential to do, and B, that I felt like it should to really create impact in people's lives. So my why was really founded in this principle of working in corporate America, everybody working their 9 to 5, whatever that schedule looks like for them, and not necessarily being happy externally and showcasing strength in whatever environment in which they were living and working. So I decided I'm gonna give all that up and I'm gonna try to show people and help people connect the workplace and life through fun. And so my why is really getting back to something similar to what Jermaine said is, why does the professional side and the personal side have to be two different things? Why can't we live to embrace our authentic self with respect to others, because that is imperative, to move everybody forward, including the level of joy, fun, and fulfillment that we have in life.
Wow, that's a blend. The interesting thing about our conversation today is that all of us, three of us, are energetic people. So, Mr. Jermaine kind of switches his off when he puts on the jacket and the shirt. Like he switches off a little bit, but then when he takes the jacket off, you're like, okay, let's go. I want to ask this because, Mr. Jermaine, I have been side by side with you, right? With the when you were running for the board of trustees for MCC, and seeing your confidence was really, it inspired me the way you walk, the way you talk. Now I want to ask you this because I know that it didn't come randomly. Now I want to ask you, starting off, what was it like being able to build yourself up to become that person who you are today? How did you get to where you are, knowing who you are?
I really do appreciate that. I'm also inspired by you because in a lot of ways I see myself in you when I was in high school and college, and just trying to do everything I can to connect with individuals. And so, the how I feel like I had that confidence built was a great deal of exposure. As a young man who grew up in the heart of this city, which I had an opportunity to represent in the urban core, at one point, my family, which was homeless, we went from house to house. I would watch my mom try to ensure that my brothers and I have 4 brothers, so it was 5 boys, African Americans. Society, unfortunately, wrote us off. We lived in sometimes you would think poverty, but I realized from a very young age that despite where we lived, there was a lot of love and compassion in our home. My mom, who encouraged us to be driven, my mom, who encouraged us to seek out to every opportunity that we possibly could, that inspired and gave me the energy and also the know-how of having confidence to do whatever it was that I wanted to do. I didn't know a lot of times that my mom, who was a blue-collar worker, who worked at the local, actually at UMKC. I think I mentioned that when we had a panel discussion. My late grandfather as well worked there. And I had a gentleman come up to me who worked with my grandfather and was telling me all these great stories about how he inspired him many times. And he often kept referring to me that day as the legacy of my family. But my family, not really by name in terms of owning a large business in the city, or not really by serving an elected office, but they really helped put a lot of love, compassion inside me. But outside of that, I also was exposed to a number of things. Where in high school, I was able to be the host of a teen talk show called Generation Rap, which is aired on Hot 103 Gems on every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And it's been going for 30 years. But I was one of the first teens to actually be the host of the show. And so what that allowed me to do was to realize that I actually had a voice that I could be heard, a voice where I could also interview people like what you're doing every single weekend, and also throughout the week. It allowed for us to do things. I remember when Kay Barnes, she was one of the mayors of our city. She was running for office, and I remember telling her, "You need to come on this show. You need to come and talk and tell us what you're going to do for young people." And so I felt like I had a voice, but that was exposure, and it gave me the confidence that I, as a teenager, could talk to an adult in the very way that they had respect for me and I had respect for them. But it was something that built that confidence within me. I'll never forget when Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver, he ran for office, and he was running against a guy named Jamie Metzel in his first time running for Congress, and I had them on the show. And of course, that same question, well, what are you going to do for young people when you get to Congress? You know, that type of exposure led me to the confidence to say that when I went off to Washington, D.C., out there undergrad from the University of Missouri, Columbia, and worked on Capitol Hill, and then to come back home and say, I'm going to run for office. And you want to know what? The only way I'm going to know if I can do this unless I try. Because if I don't try, I'll never know if I can do it. And so I think in a lot of ways, that type of exposure, that type of opportunity that a lot of people sometimes don't necessarily use or actually go out there, really provided me with the confidence that I think I have today. There's nothing that you can tell me that I can't do, because I know that it's possible. And I know that if it may not seem impossible, well, we'll go to the next phase and we'll try to figure it out. And Paul is going to help make sure it's possible. And that's just how it works.
Man, I did not know this part about you, that you actually hosted a show. I didn't know this part about you. So
yeah, that's how it all started for me.
It makes me relate to you more now, because now I'm like, okay, this is making more sense. I never knew that part about you. So that's, I feel like it's awesome that, at a young age you had the opportunity to reach out to leaders, which gave you that confidence. Like, if they can do it, I can do it too. So Paul, just because I can, just by looking at your videos on my phone, I can just get your confidence just exudes out of my phone, because I'm like, if I ever meet this guy, he is gonna pump me up. How did you get to that? How do you get to do 30 years of speaking and keep doing it? And like, how did you get to the point where you are?
It all comes.
He doesn't even look 30.
Hey, I just turned 39. Don't get it twisted. See this? See this? This says I'm 39, but really says I'm 47, right? Hey,
you want to do your audio, Mr. Jermaine?
Oh, I was saying, is that called gray hair or is that receding?
That's receding. Oh, and gray. It's all there. Hey, what about this fade though? I just got this done for you guys. Hey,
it's fresh.
Hey, it all comes from a place of insecurity, Zeke. All the confidence you see comes from a place of insecurity. And I say that tongue in cheek because I am a confident fellow. I will answer your question. But prior to that, there's some gaps in Jermaine's story. I got to call him out for a second. If my man hosted a show that was on Hot 103 Jams, I'm not certain that he actually recalls, because he forgot to slam that Z.
And then actually at the end of every show, after we slam the Z, we would say, and don't get it twisted.
That's right.
So, okay, how many more gaps we're going to fill in? Because I've got some good singers that go along with this. All right. Don't forget to slam that Z, bro.
You caught me. It was just one gap. But so for me, listening to you guys talk, and Zeke, I told you this when we met on that Drinks with Leaders show. Man, if I had my stuff together like you did at your age, and hearing Jermaine said that he sees, a little of himself in you, man, I had no freaking clue what I was doing when I was your age. I I didn't have no confidence. You know, I could go into a room and I could make anybody laugh, but if you told me to go up and holler at a beautiful lady or some girl that I was interested in, I couldn't do it. I was nervous. I'd get all sweaty. You know, I'd stumble my words. I just, you know, so comedy and humor was my way of really casting a shadow over all the insecurities that I had. And so over time, though, as I graduated from Johnson County Community College and University of Missouri, Kansas City, roo up!
Let's go.
He said, roo up!
Let's go.
I realized that at one point in my life, I thought people were laughing at me. Like I would go in and I would crack jokes, and I would crack jokes at my expense, right? And you know that old adage, like, are they laughing at you or are they laughing with you?
Yeah.
At one point in time, I was really insecure because like I felt like I was the brunt of even my boys' jokes. Like whenever people came around, we were boys collectively together when it was just us. But then when the girls came around, or whenever, you know, somebody else came out that they wanted to show out to, well, now I'm the brunt of all the jokes, right? And so at that point, I would get all insecure. I was like, oh man, they're laughing at me. They're laughing at me. And then all of a sudden it clicked. Society, and Jermaine and I were talking about this before, that society is in such a divisive place right now that if I can make people laugh, whether it's at my expense or because of something I said or did, so long as they're laughing and not thinking about the drama that's going on in their life, I could wear that badge because I feel confident. I feel comfortable with the life that I've been blessed to live, the people that I have around me, the things that I've had the opportunities to do. Man, I don't need everybody else to fill a void in my heart, because that void is filled by myself. And I think that oftentimes when we talk about confidence, we believe, society believes, or people have forced themselves to believe that confidence comes externally. Like if people say, oh man, that shirt looks good, or oh, you did great on stage, or oh, your podcast is fire, then your confidence rises. Man, your confidence rises when you realize that you're enough.
Yeah.
When you realize that what you have is great. And if you continue to work to close those opportunity gaps, man, you're going to be even better. And so as a result, to Jermaine's point about, you know, running for mayor, there's nothing I can't do. I got to do it just to see if I can. Well, he ran unsuccessfully, to hear him say it. But think about all the experiences that he got as a result of that. I'm sure it knocked you down a peg or two, Jermaine, but at the same token, I'm sure it boosted you up quite a bit too, because now you could always say, yeah, I was right there with Mayor Q. I was right there. Yeah. And I would have wore a mask, right? I'm just joking. I hit Mayor Q up last night. I was just giving him a hard time. But my point is, confidence comes from within. And I didn't have it 10, 15, 20 years ago. But the more I progress in life and the more I'm comfortable with what I do have, the more confident I get. So watch out, world.
So we do have to close the gap on one thing you just mentioned, and that of course is with Mayor Q. He and I of course served on the city council together in my last term, but also we were friends way before running for office, because we're the same age actually. His birthday is 2 months after mine, but nonetheless, I hit him up as well last night, and I said, "So what's up? You know, you didn't have a mask on," and I said, "Now you in the 50-year-olds." I'll leave it there.
But you know what, Zeke? Last thing, without monopolizing your show, because I know you got a lot of awesome questions, and I love.
No, go ahead.
What stinks about that, and this is what I said, Jermaine. I said, it stinks that when you're in public service or an athlete, or shoot, you even know in all the work that you do, that you have to be on all the time, right? You have to be on all the time. Compound that with the fact that right now we live in such a divisive society that if indeed your views don't fit my narrative, then I'm going to jump at everything wrong that you do. So basically I said, don't let the voice of the vocal minority, detract from the fact that those that ride with you are going to ride with you, right? Until you no longer earn the right for us to ride with you. And so,
yeah, that's good.
the thing that sucks about that whole situation is like context is missing all the time. We judge people off a social media photo or off something that was said, and it's a 10-second clip. Well, you don't know what happened. You don't know where it is, but we live in this gotcha moment that ultimately you're gonna get got if somebody wants to get you.
It's very true.
Now, I have a few more questions, but I want to ask this. I think this is really important because being on this show with both of you who are successful, a lot of people would think it's all easy and peasy every day for you guys. Everything's just smooth for you guys. Now, I really want to touch upon like times of failure, like times that you've failed and being able to ask yourself, is this really worth it? Am I supposed to be going forward or stop? Just talk a little bit about how that felt like, times that you were down and what you had to do to get up and be like, you know what, this was a downfall for me, but I'm going to learn and not be stuck here.
I'll just say this, and I think Paul was touching on some of this as he was touching on the important point of in terms of public service, and we were picking a little fun at Mayor Lucas and a recent photo that was taken of him down in the Lake of the Ozarks. And sure, we're all friends with him. He's friends of this show. And has been on this podcast many times as well in terms of talking about things that are happening across the city. And I had an opportunity where I was running in an election. And a lot of times in the public eye, people think that if you don't win something, then you're a failure. They think that if you didn't do it this way, then you're a failure. And so you have to endure sort of that public scrutiny and the court of public opinion, which is not always the most exciting thing. But you touched on it in the heart of your question and your statement, is that if you don't win or if you don't do something, you have to pick yourself up and try again. I mean, I could have thought I was a failure, when my family lost their home and we were evicted, and society wrote me off and said you didn't have a lot coming, or you weren't going to be anybody. But I never let that define who I am or who I was going to be. And very similar to what Michelle Obama says in her book, Becoming, is that you're always becoming something. And so you can't let life describe you or write you off as if you're never going to be anybody, because you're always becoming and going to be something. So when you fall, you pick yourself up and you try again. Donnie McClurkin writes in a gospel song that we fall down, but we get up. He also said that that's not meant to be the anthem of your failures. It's meant to be something that encourages you and inspires you to get back up and keep trying, but don't let that write you off. As I said earlier, and I will reiterate, the importance of you only have one time to get things right, but you also know that the only thing that that is not possible is death, because when you die, you don't have any more chances to try. There's an article in the Times magazine that came out over the weekend. It talks about John Lewis, who a lot of times would cry when telling his story about the civil rights movement, but it did not stop him from sharing. And that's a generation that is now gone, and there is a new generation that is coming up that we all have to continue to keep trying, despite if we feel as if we fall. I'll leave it there.
Well spoken. Mr. Paul, you want to take a stab at it? Because I know you got so much to contribute on this topic.
Yeah, I got failures on failures on failures. So many folks that have heard the podcast before or heard me speak know that, my corporate America experience felt like a failure, crying on my wife's shoulder and telling her I couldn't do this anymore. And, feeling as though I had the pressure of the 2,500 folks that we employ, that I was charged with, running the performance management strategy or help coming up with the performance management strategy with. I just felt like I had failed. And at that moment, again, crying on my wife's shoulder, she says, the world needs fundamism, but you need it more. So that stunk to me, like wiping my hands and saying, I can't change this as much as I thought it could. But I wasn't put on this earth to change that organization. I was put on this earth to change myself in order to make a larger impact on the masses. So now, fast forward, every single client that I have the opportunity to work with on our first discovery call, I tell them within the first 15 minutes of our conversation, I thrive in awkwardness. I thrive in awkwardness. Now, the moment that every person listening to this podcast right now is comfortable or finds comfort in awkwardness is the moment that your world will open up to you. I'll leave you with this one because I had an opportunity to do something really cool the other day. So PayPal has new hire classes regularly. I was set to do a live event for them. Obviously with COVID, it was canceled. However, they transitioned it to a virtual gig. So I had the opportunity to speak to over 200 new hires and interns fresh out of college. And we did 3 technical checks, scheduled, everything worked fine. It was on Microsoft Teams. We got to the day of, we're doing the dang thing, and all of a sudden my presentation won't share. So I'm talking, the lady interrupts me. She goes, Paul, I'm sorry, we can't see what you're doing. I said, oh, you can't? Share again. No, it's not working. Try again. We're troubleshooting live. 200 some odd interns watching this, getting paid a decent fee. I feel like I'm messing up, right? All of a sudden I stop because all these are interns. I said, you guys are all relatively new to PayPal. Congratulations on the new gig. What's your biggest fear? What is your biggest fear in working with PayPal? What if we asked you to do a Zoom presentation on the culture of PayPal? What could go wrong? What would the biggest fear be? 200 folks watching? You can't share your screen? All of a sudden you have to troubleshoot real life? Don't feel sorry for me, guys. I thrive in awkwardness. If you can't get comfortable in this space, then you will not be successful in life. Got done with the event and the lady was like, I am so thankful that didn't work because that message related so much to what these folks are going through. So the message, thrive in awkwardness, get comfortable being uncomfortable, to be cliche. I don't have a mic, but.
Yeah, that's mic drop right there.
Boy, good. That boy good. That boy good. That boy good.
That's awesome. I'm just excited that I had this particular podcast. Now this is gonna be probably the last question, but I want to ask this, because we're in 2020 with COVID and everything going on. With the racial injustice that has been happening in the whole country, the protests. I want to ask this, and this is gonna be to Paul. You're gonna go first, and then Jermaine. This is gonna be a hard step for you, but I just want to ask this. Seeing the protests and seeing everything going on, and all the conversations that have been going on about just racial injustice, do you think it's working, or what are some things you think that also should be happening at the same time?
Do I think it's working? Well, I think it's important that we define what working is. Like, what's our desired outcome? So here's what I know for certain. Regardless of, and I'm just going to revisit the past for a bit. There's been a lot of folks, a lot of individuals that Jermaine so eloquently referenced in the previous discussion that have really worked hard to ensure that equality is more closely attainable than it is now. So first of all, we're not there, right? This is, I grew up in a small town, 10,000 folks. 3 Black gentlemen graduated within the 4 years that I was in high school, and I saw how people treated them. One of them was my boys, Charlie Calvin Brown. I'm with you, bro. Like, he's a podcast guest. He is me, and I am him. We are brothers. And I saw what people would say to him, and I saw how he was treated. And I got to experience that firsthand. Now, I didn't get to experience it as a Black male, but I got to experience it as a bipartisan third party that could see it, that felt the pain, not that he felt, but as an extension of him, because I loved him so damn much. And so my point is, remove however you feel about racism, discrimination. We're talking gender equality. We're talking about it all. Let's talk about using our voice. When Colin Kaepernick kneeled for the anthem and the flag and all that stuff, what irritates me most about society right now is everybody's so quick to say, you shouldn't do that. That's not what to do. you should be doing something else. And then you say, okay, what should I be doing? People aren't so quick to answer that question though. We're so quick to answer the question or rather tell somebody that they're doing something wrong. They're doing it wrong. You're using your voice wrong. You shouldn't be protesting. You shouldn't be looting. You shouldn't be whatever. But not so many people are saying, what can you do to move the needle forward? So is it working? Listen, we're talking more about social injustice now than we ever have in my lifetime. If that is the definition of success in whether it's working, then hell yeah, it's working. Are we moving closer? I don't know. There's lights at the end of the tunnel. The NFL is making some steps. Now, are they doing it because people are watching, or they do it because they feel like it's the right thing? I don't know the answer to that question. It's going to take a while to really create new experiences that help alter not just the DNA in folks, but to overcome the hate that has been instilled in their heart for years and years and years.
Wow, well said. Mr. Jermaine?
So I'll pick up exactly where Paul just left off. And that is by way of a story. And several years ago, I had an opportunity to visit Cape Town, South Africa. And while on that visit, I, of course, went over to Robben Island to see where Nelson Mandela was in prison. And of course, as a political prisoner, trying to really fight against apartheid and wanting to change the course of the nation's history. Yeah. And of course, the story goes on where Nelson Mandela, of course, was released from prison after 27 years and then ended up becoming the first African-American president of South Africa. But on that tour, one of the things that sticks out so much to me was that our tour guide, his father, was on the tour with us. And we saw a lot of different parts of Cape Town while on the tour. And his father was just kind of in the background, looking like a proud father, going to place. And then he would chime in here and there throughout the actual tour. But when we got there, he said, he shared with us that he was also a political prisoner with Nelson Mandela. And he also said, which stands out to me, and it really, I think, goes exactly to what Paul just said, which was that he basically, his father said, during that tour at Cape Town, and on Robben Island, he said that it's going to take generations before we actually realize what we were fighting for. It will take generations. Nelson Mandela, of course, passed a couple of years ago, and his daughter, unfortunately, recently just passed, his wife. But generations, we have not gotten there all the way where we have seen what has happened with apartheid in South Africa, but very similar, just fast forward right here to this country, on our soil, on this U.S. soil, is that there's decades and decades upon decades of folks who have been in slavery, folks who have been fighting against racial injustice, folks who are on the front lines even to this day, where we have changed the narrative and we are saying that Black Lives Matter. But when the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1968, following the death of Martin Luther King on April 4th, 1968, there at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, we have a long way to go before we realize what we actually have been fighting for. But that does not mean that our fight stops here. Martin Luther King said in a quote that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. Yeah. You don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to make your verbs and everything agree, but everybody can serve. Everybody can be great. And I paraphrase just a little bit, but it takes all of us stepping up to the plate and doing something that is of good. I'll never forget that time I went back to the story of South Africa, is that one of the things that really stood out to me was the words of Michael Jackson's "Heal the World, Make It a Better Place for you, for me, for the entire human race. There are people dying, but if you care enough for the living, let's make it a better place." And if I could sing, I would sing it, and I wouldn't mess up all the words that bad. But as cliche as it sounds, to use the song, we all play a part in healing this world, healing our land right here in these United States, and standing up against racial injustice, standing up against bigotry, standing up against human rights and women's rights and LGBT rights and everything that we possibly can imagine. We all play a role in that. And I think it's until we realize what our collective good is in all of that, and then have that common thread that strings it together, then we will get to a part where we've seen that collective good. I referenced Martin Luther King earlier, and I'll end with this: is that the speech that he made in 1963 there in Washington D.C., where he was on the famous "I Have a Dream" speech there at the Lincoln Memorial. But he talked about in that speech that everyone knows is that one day we won't be judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. And so we have a long way to go. And I think that we saw some strides through the election of Barack Obama back in 2008. But now we're seeing some of we're whole shift. We used to talk about, we're living in a post-racial society. Well, that of course has changed, and we've got a long way to go. And I think that complacency that we saw in some ways in that from the 2008 election has woken us all back up to realize that some of the racial injustices that we're seeing with people who are dying in the hands of police officers, which are pretty much viewed as modern day lynchings, to the education system and the prison system, which is supposed to be correctional, which is not really correcting a lot of behavior. We've got a long way to go. And all of us play a role in that. And it is not done, and our fight is not over until we have seen that. And we may not see it in our generation, as I said in the beginning, but in a lot of ways, we have to continue toward that common good and thread.
Wow.
Hey, Z, can I add one thing in closing? And it's more a challenge to folks listening in than anything, because, we have a lot of dialogue. We talk regularly about our opinion, how we feel on things, whether you're left or right or bigoted or not bigoted or whatever it may be. Everybody's willing to share their opinion right now. And what I don't think that we're as open to doing right now is listening. And specifically, when I say listening, I'm saying listening with the goal of understanding, right? When I see or meet somebody that has opposing views as me, I could raise my voice, I could get louder, I could get obnoxious, but there is no way that me raising my voice or telling others that they're wrong is going to change or alter their perspective. It was Bruce Lee that said, "I cannot teach you, only help you to explore yourself, nothing more." So what I like to do is I like to ask questions. So tell me more about that. How did you land on that? And when people consistently try to shift the narrative, don't allow it. So for example, when we talk about race relations, when we talk about protests, your question was, are the protests working? What we hear is folks say, well, but what about black on black crime? What about, don't let the few cops stand for the bulk of all the good ones, right? Or we're consistently shifting the narrative, right? Let's stick to the facts. Like, all I'm asking you is right now in a bubble is how George Floyd was treated. Was that good or bad? Okay, bad. Tell me more about this. What if that was your son? How would you feel? What would you do if it was your son? Would you protest? What would that protest look like for you? Now I'm in full-on question mode. And they're going to try and switch the narrative, right? Yeah, but I wouldn't burn down buildings. I'm not asking you what you wouldn't do. I'm asking you what you would do. Create a dialogue. Now, you're going to hear some things that you don't like. You're going to hear some things that you don't agree with. But at the end of the day, you might, just might, create an opportunity for somebody to self-discover something in themselves that they didn't know was there.
Wow.
And I also add is that some of these conversations will make you feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
but you have to go into it with an openness and willing to listen, and not to say that, oh, you're going to change overnight. We've already talked about generational change. So it's going to take some time because these are things that are learned behaviors, but you have to go into it even when you are uncomfortable. Don't twist and turn and start shouting and everything at each other, because shouting at each other in arguments don't necessarily prove anything. But listen with an open heart and willingness to understand both sides. I won't go into. I got so much more I can say, but I know our time and people probably not listening to the end of Zeke's podcast. We don't want his viewership to go down.
Hey, Jermaine,
join continuation of round 2. We'll be back.
That's going to be, hey, Zeke, that's going to be when he comes on the Fundamentalism podcast. We're going to talk about this too.
Yes. It's going to be a continuation.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, I really want to say this because I think, well, Paul, what you said is really good, the way you put it, where a lot of people want to tell you what they don't want you to do, but they're not telling you what you really want, what you should be doing. You're always asking, I wouldn't do that, but what would you do if you were in the same situation? And I think that's something that we all need to start paying attention to. And again, with what Mr. Jermaine said, it's a lot of people are not wanting to listen with an open mind. They listen with a preconceived notion of what they think they already know about the situation. Now, with everything going on, it's clear to say that the facts are out there. You can Google it and find it for yourself, And I think there's this thing too that I've noticed on the media where a lot of people find someone that agrees with them and they stick with that person. If they say, oh, yeah, look at that person. That means I'm not that bad. And that's where the problem comes in. If you always stay in your comfort zone, you will never be able to explore and grow. I want to say this again. This has been an awesome conversation, really insightful, really energetic, and thank you guys for coming on this show. Thank you for coming to FiredUp KC show. Thank you for being awesome leaders in KC. Thank you for giving a damn. But I just want to ask you guys, what are some ways if people want to reach out to you and connect with you, that they can connect with you, LinkedIn, social media, websites, to get more info about what you do and be able to contact you?
Listen, at the end of the day, I don't care if you follow me, but if you need to smile, we might have something for you. So fundamentalism.com or any of the social media outlets that I told you about.
Awesome.
And so I'll tell the podcast listeners that my patio is literally, I'll show you right here. And so I'm trying to avoid the noise in the background when not talking. So it's not that I'm just kind of going back and forth. So at least you got a chance to see. I don't have a Paul Long studio with 3 or 4 cameras on me at one point. As he flex. I've just got twist and turn, everybody. Twist and turn. So, but yeah, you can follow me on any social media platform at Jermaine Reed, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snap, or whatever it may be, on LinkedIn. You can find me there at Jermaine Reed. My direct email address is jermaine@jermainereed.com. That's jermaine@jermainereed.com. That's with the E at the end of Jermaine. And feel free to reach out anytime.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, Zeke, the fact that dude just shouted up his Snapchat tells me that he ain't married. Why you gonna put me on blast?
I didn't say TikTok. That's
true. I'm just playing.
But you know what? We're going to take this one offline, Paul. Since you're embarrassing everybody, talk about who's married and not.
Look at me, I'm the red face.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Yeah. You
look for my snap. Look for my snap. Hey Zeke,
with all red face. You better close this. You better close this podcast out. Nobody's going to ever watch you. Let's get out of here, everybody.
His mama called him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay.
Woo! Man,
he was clashing. He was Cassius Clay.
Man, this has been the best podcast so far. I'm laughing cheek to cheek. I can't even stop. Again, I think that's for
me and you, bro. Me and you.
Man, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you, listeners, for watching today. This has been, like I said, energetic, informational, and definitely inspirational. So, you guys can find us at FiredUp KC, and I'll put the links to where you can get Mr. Jermaine and Mr. Paul. You can connect with them. And again, thank you guys. It's been a FiredUp KC show. Pursue your purpose, get that fire, and never stop pushing. See you guys next time.
Get it.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.